morning, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. See, I always mix that up. I only got it once, probably the first time I ever said it. And then I keep trying to say it, and I just butcher it every single time. It is what it is. I'm just probably going to keep saying it anyways, even if I keep butchering it. Well, hello again this week. Here I am being on time. Thank you very much. It's probably thanks to my husband wanting me to record a podcast early before Wednesday. I often feel like I'm recording the podcast right the night before or just a little bit too close to Wednesday. But I am recording this a little bit earlier, so amen. It is actually New Year's Day today, and I thought we were going to do a little bit more throughout our day on New Year's Day, but I ended up working quite a bit, and then, well, not quite a bit. I tried working. I did work, but it took a long time. It took longer than I wanted it to. And then we ended up having dinner and playing some games, so that was really fun. The games that we played were really fun. But anyways, Happy New Year's. This is going to be season 3. We're starting with Goatee with Georgia D. So, cheerio. Huzzah. All of the above. So as you saw by the title of this podcast, we're going to be talking about success. And is it bad to want success? It's kind of something that I've been thinking about here and there, off and on. I think it just keeps popping up in my head a little bit. Is it bad to want success? Because I feel like in society, I feel like I can go in so many directions here. But before I start, I did mention this a little bit to Caleb before I started, and it was funny because I was going to just say a random definition, like by Webster. I think I'm still going to do that. But it's funny because, well, let me first, Webster's definition of success: the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, the good or bad outcome of an undertaking. But when I mentioned it to Caleb, he said, which I definitely agree, he was saying it depends on your definition of success, and that could change depending on your success, if it's bad to want success or not. I mean, I guess if your definition of success is to kill 10 people, well then yeah, it's bad to want success, okay? But I guess it depends on what you want to be successful in, I suppose. Just preliminary that. But assuming that we're talking about somebody that wants success, that's a positive, not hurting anybody, not trying to have ill intentions of anybody, just simply wanting to be successful in their own whatever XYZ, I think my definition of success. Now, first, before I say my definition, I kind of want you to think about what your definition of success would be. I feel like if we're all in a room and we could all share, I would assume that all of our definitions of success would be different in a way, and at the same time the same. Because I do think that people inevitably all kind of want the same thing, but variations of the same thing. But I do think everybody's definition of success would be different. It's going to be packaged this way. It's going to be packaged in a different package, casing, there you go. But it will be very similar package on the inside. Okay, anyways, it might be a little different, but also the same. Okay, so I think my definition of success would be, number one, someone to give and receive love. This is just my personal opinion, and I definitely think everybody's would look different, because that's something that I've wanted in my life. Someone to give and receive love to. And then number two, it's not in any particular order, but like having an intimate relationship with Jesus. Because I was kind of already talking about these things to Caleb, and he said I should just start recording because I was just chatting about it, and he's right, because I was going to share everything with him and then not know all the things I wanted to talk about. But anyways, an intimate relationship with Jesus. When I remember when I was in ministry school, I used to challenge myself. I used to tell myself I couldn't leave the closet with the Lord. I would walk in and, this is not something I recommend doing or anything, but I would always say, I don't want to leave this closet until I'm full with the presence of the Lord. And for me, that definition of being full was, sensing the presence of the Lord so much that I could feel his presence. We were chit-chatting, he was talking, and I was mostly listening, and I would be so overwhelmed by his presence that I could tangibly feel his presence, and I could tangibly feel like an overflow of his presence. So I had been communicating with him, and him and I were just chatting, and I had, when you sense his presence, or maybe you don't know, but if you do, you know what I'm talking about. His presence is there, and it's so much. I could sense that, like, all this happiness and joy, and I just wanted to, like, give it away. Like, I have this vision of, like, my heart having a capacity, a certain amount, to hold a certain amount of love from the Lord. And I used to think, I used to feel like when I was single, I had so much love from the Lord that it was overflowing, and I just wanted to, like, give it away to somebody. And I never knew, I didn't have, like, I would give it away to everybody I met, people on the street, and give away that extra love, because I had so much love from the Lord that I was overflowing. Like, I could tangibly feel, like, the presence of love. that I was overflowing and I just wanted to give it away because I was so joyful from the Lord. And I would give it away, and that I wanted to meet my spouse or whatever because I wanted to give them that love, that extra love. It was like this extra love that after knowing the Lord and being with the Lord. So yeah, I mean, that is the second part, of success. And then the third part is something to do that is, partially fulfilling, or the most you can do, the most fulfilling thing that you can do that is like brings you joy and excitement, and you have like a goal and a dream, something you're pushing towards, something you're excited about every single day to work on and to grow and to get better at, and a dream in a sense on this earth, and I think that is the definition of success in my personal opinion, because you can know people that are like what the world thinks is extremely successful, but they maybe put so much into their career that they don't necessarily maybe have someone to give and receive love to, and or they're not spending their time in the Lord, or giving their time and their love and affection and attention to the Lord and worshiping Him, you know what I mean? And so all of that success is going to fall flat, obviously. And I mean, whether you have a relationship with the Lord or not, you've seen that in, maybe people, friends or family, people that have maybe what you think is a successful situation. Or maybe people that are well known. I mean, they look successful, but it'll eventually fall flat. I mean, you know that. And so having those three things, I think, really just tie the bow, on the present and the cherry on top, because it puts it all together. And I think the Lord in Genesis kind of wrote that out for us. He made Adam, and then He gave Adam something to do, which was make the garden big, and beautiful, just like Eden. And then, well, first he had relationship with the Lord, and then He gave him something to do, and then He made Eve, so in a way, that's exactly what the Lord said. And basically He said, this will fulfill you, and so here on earth, in my opinion. And I think, so anyways, I want you to keep thinking about what your personal definition of success would look like. And I think for me, when I think about that thing that you're supposed to do, like in Adam's case, it was growing the garden to be, or the world to look exactly like the rest of the world to look like the Garden of Eden, and he got to name all the animals, that kind of thing. And that's kind of what He put him on the earth to do, other than spend time with him and be with and walk with the Lord, and then he gave him Eve. And so that thing though that he gave Adam to do, to make the garden bigger, just like the garden of Eden, the world to look like that. Like when I think about that type of thing, like in today's context, it gets me excited, especially being like a stay-at-home mom. I think about like all the things that we need to do in the future, like saving money for college for kids, or putting an investment or something together, a legacy for our kids. That's something very important to me. It's something that I grew up with, learning about and knowing how important that is. Something I want to pass on to our kids. And something that Caleb has talked about is it's not just a legacy, like, or something financially, but also spiritually, a spiritual legacy that we get to pass on to our kids. And obviously that is the most important thing, but when you think about what you're here to do, I think about all the different types of jobs I would want to do. I think about like maybe creating film in a way, like being on set of a movie theater, or a movie theater, being on set where they, like a movie set, and being a part of that, or being a part of the editing of a movie, CGI. I would love to learn how to do that, but these type of jobs require potentially moving to a place where they would do something like that, potentially Texas, New York, Chicago, LA, these types of places. You may or may not have to move there for that, number one. Number two, you probably wouldn't be able to be a stay-at-home mom all the time. Maybe you go in a couple times a week. If you're shooting a film, maybe not at all. You would have to go in every single day. And again, that's not something I'm interested in doing while we're raising kids. While we're raising kids, I really want to be here for them, with them, raising our kids, being there every step of the way, potentially homeschooling, at least for a time. And so having another type of job that takes me away from them isn't something I'm wild or thinking about in this moment. So when I think about, the main thing I would want to do is be here with the kids. We only have one, right now, but hopefully some in the future. But something that would allow me to be able to be home and still work would be ideal, but I sometimes think, I don't think that giving and receiving love to somebody is a bad thing. That's not the part of success I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about intimacy in relationship with Jesus. I think that in itself is not a bad thing, in terms of success. I would say what I'm more thinking about in the definition in terms of success is when it comes to something that you're doing. When I think about what God gave Adam to do, I wouldn't think that was bad, but I think it again, well, not again, but it comes to circle it. I think it comes down to what is your motive in the success, or in the desire, or your motive when it behind, what it is that you're doing. And it also depends on what you're doing or what you are wanting to do. But again, we're assuming what you want to do success-wise is not hurting anyone or going against any person. It's just, we're assuming it's something that is something you want to achieve that is good. And so I think I've been thinking a lot about, like, does the Lord want to take away something, what it is that I want to do? Does the Lord want to use it as a sacrifice, kind of like the Abraham-Isaac situation? Is it getting in the way of my relationship with the Lord, Or is my relationship with the Lord, or what I'm thinking about, completely different than what it is that I'm doing? I'm not sure if that makes sense. I'm kind of being vague. But is what I'm doing getting in the way of my relationship with the Lord? Is that something that the Lord wants to take away because he wants to grow my relationship with him stronger? Or can I still do what I'm doing and still have a strong relationship with the Lord at the same time? Does he want to take away what you're doing so that you can focus on him more? Is that necessary? Maybe for a time, maybe not. I don't know. I think when I think about what makes success, like, if it's something that you're doing that's good and you want to be successful at it, is it taking over your brain more than Jesus? Like, it's taking up more room in your brain than you're giving Jesus? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, the Lord is jealous and wants to be with you. He wants, your mind, it to be all-consuming. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he doesn't want you to be all consumed with him, but he's all consumed with us, right? So I would assume, and I don't have any scriptural background, but I can guess, I think that he wants it in return. And so, I mean, if you look at Abraham and Isaac again, and I think I tend to resort to that scenario a lot. I think I'll often, and maybe it's me being legalistic as well, but it could be that I'm trying to be sensitive as well. I'm not sure. But I think I had a season in my life where I had a really long season of my life where I was always wondering, actually, I think you should, in a way, be doing this, but I think I'm not sure exactly where the line is in this case, but I had a season in my life where I was always wondering, what does the Lord want to take away from me now? Is something in the way of my relationship with the Lord? And I think it's not a bad thing to be thinking about that, because why would you want anything to be in the way of your relationship with the Lord? And I understand that people go through disappointment. Okay, so I had to take a break and come back because I actually started crying and I couldn't record anymore. But I'm back and I have composed myself. I guess I struck a chord with myself here. I feel like I have been holding the Lord at a distance in a way, and this is totally, I don't know, this is related, but it might sound unrelated. And I think I'm afraid of the different things that he might say. Like, I have to be vulnerable with the Lord. Like, that's usually, everything that you have to be really vulnerable when you spend time with the Lord. You have to lay it all out. You have to share your insecurities, your fears, your worries, And then I think for me, I get worried about what he's going to say back, what he might ask me to do. And I heard this quote, I'm not even saying the quote right, but it went something like, if there's anything separating me and the Lord, I want to get it out right away. I'm going to throw that, whatever it is, out of the way so that I can be close to the Lord. I don't want anything standing between me and the Lord, basically is what it's saying. And so I've always felt that same way, but I think due to recent, disappointment in my life, everybody goes through it at some point, but I think I was kind of holding the Lord, or am holding the Lord at a distance in a lot of ways. And that doesn't make it easy for the Lord to speak, And I think that's just something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And the opportunity that it presents to take that arm's length and just let the Lord in completely. And it's cool because, yes, I've experienced disappointment, and that's caused this type of reaction. Although the disappointment I experienced was never with the Lord, it was with people, right? So the disappointment was never the Lord in the first place. It was always the people that caused the disappointment, right? So putting that in perspective, and knowing that the Lord never fails us. And obviously people do and will and always will, but the Lord won't. And he is the only one you can really fully trust. Hopefully you can trust your spouse. But I mean, when it comes to like pastors or people that you would normally trust in a big, big way. It has to be the Lord, obviously. And maybe it's not obviously, but maybe it is. Okay. So, moving back into the podcast here. I think success is something that can cause people a lot of pain. It can bring a lot of joy. It can, it can create endurance in a person and long suffering to achieve that with which one wants to achieve, I think a problem in success or wanting to achieve success, where that can come to be an issue, would be if you are putting that thing you're doing above the Lord. In value and in your attention. Maybe you have to set it aside for a little bit to put your attention back on the Lord. Maybe it's for a short time, maybe it's for a bit longer time, depending on what it is and where your level of attention is on XYZ situation, whatever. Success can cause people to put everything on the line and put everything else by the wayside. Their relationships, their family, their friends, their relationship with the Lord, everything. It can cause them to not take care of their finances or their children. These things are never good when you don't create space and time for the Lord and for all these other things that are in your life first and that are of deeper value than your success. Your success is really, again, depending on what your definition of success is. If your definition of success is be a great dad, but you're also putting that I had to yawn, put that in front of your relationship with the Lord, well, now you're Abraham. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to call you to sacrifice your child. Someone once told me, well, never mind. I won't bring that up. I'm getting sleepy now, folks. That's not good. I have a lot to do tonight, and I don't have time for sleeping. I think success is not bad in itself. I think it depends. It can be wanting success is not bad in itself. You can want to be successful and still, have your priorities straight and be going after that success. You can also be going after success in what it is that you're doing and your motives be off. you know, then I think it's just time to stop and reevaluate what it is that you're doing and where you're going and what you should be doing, where you should be going. I think I'm gonna have to call it. I'm really getting tired now. But I love y'all. Thank you so much for listening this week. Sorry it was a bit short. But please subscribe and please leave a review and share this with a friend if you like. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow the podcast at GoTGD on Twitter. Or you can DM me on Instagram at GeorgiaHertzberg_. So I hope y'all enjoyed today. I love you so much, and I will talk to you next week.